9 seconds. That's what I'll give you to decide your fate.
Ciao Roberto.
Roberto, tell me, what did you do back home?
Government work. I'm retired, man.
Because of these people, I'm beginning to understand real peace.
They see you as one of us now.
And I believe this is where I'm supposed to be.
Da 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 da!
You sound insane. You realize that?
Yeah. The whole world gone crazy! Seriously? It's showtime.
It's the third entry in the series and the fifth collaboration between Denzel Washington and director Antoine Fuqua. It's the Equalizer 3. I'm your host, Brian Gill, joined by my incredible, loyal, serious about podcasting co-host, Kent Garrison. Kent, how's it going, buddy?
Serious about Denzel.
Serious about
If
Denzel.
there's anybody else, I might have been out. But
Yeah.
there's very few people that keep me here every week.
Yes.
And when things get rough in these times of the movie calendar,
Yeah.
Denzel's one of the few. He's like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. And we don't just mean in relation to this episode. You mean like in relation to every review we do right before we come on the air. We're like, okay, all right, what are we doing here? We got to get amped up for this.
I hype myself up with this speech from Remember the Titans
Yeah.
right before I come on every time.
Because your whole deal is like, yeah, sure, to this point, Denzel Washington hasn't listened to an episode of Mad About Movies that we know of, but any day could be the day that he jumps on the wagon and joins the Man Fam. So you just want to make sure you give your best every episode, just in case this is the one that Denzel Washington listens to. Which I agree. I think that's a great,
Get Denzel
great way
on.
to go through life.
I think he would enjoy coming on the show.
You're closer to it than any of us are, because you've been. With
I've
him
been
at
in
Cowboys
his
camp.
presence one time.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have. Like within 10 feet. Did not talk to him because, I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
Too nervous to talk to
Right.
Denzel. But
Right.
he was within, arm's reach, I would say. Yeah.
My in with Denzel is, if I'm ever in the room with him, is that he was planning to go to Texas Tech if he had not become a great actor. So
One of the best things about, I remember about seeing him was he was in the middle of shooting The Magnificent Seven, so he had those incredible sideburns. He was just rocking those in Oxnard.
that's great.
I was like, why does he look like that? And then I looked it up, and I was like, it was like in production, Magnificent Seven. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Cannot wait. And he was the best part of that.
Yeah, by a pretty wide
Pretty
stretch.
wide margin.
With respect to Ethan Hawke, also friend of the program. We love Denzel Washington. We're joking some of this, but genuinely, last year in the VIP, which you can be a part of at madaboutmoviespodcast.com/VIP, we always do a retrospective series. This year's series, we're talking about historic disaster movies. So we just did an episode on Cutthroat Island that came out last week. We've done like Last Action Hero, Cleopatra.
Godzilla 1998.
Yeah, like these
there's been
movies
some
that
fun ones.
like did so poorly that they are known as huge flops, that in some cases, like Cutthroat Island, like destroyed a studio because
Got
of how
everyone
terrible
fired.
they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year's retrospective, we went through all of Denzel Washington's filmography. And so month by month almost, we went in like 7 or 8 sections and we watched all of his movies and reviewed them in chunks together and just kind of talk about the phase of his career, because we love Denzel and feel like he's, one of the most important actors of our era here. And it's, so I'm always excited, Kent, when Denzel is going to be on screen, even if it's an Equalizer movie. So Richard can't be here today. He's stuck at Burning Man. That's tough. But hopefully he'll be able to trek out and hike back to us for next episode next week. So it's just you and me talking Equalizer. Kent, yeah, we talked about the Equalizer movies last year in the VIP, but since this is the main feed, can you give me like a quick run through on a reminder, if you will, on your feelings towards this series in particular?
Yeah, the retrospective we did on Denzel was one of the favorite things we've ever done, aside from stuff here on the main feed. Those are on Spotify, by the way. I think you can subscribe to our VIP feed on Spotify. Just search Mad About Movies VIP, and it's on there. So you can subscribe through there. Now, I don't know if that makes it easier for some people. They listen to the show on Spotify. It might make it easier. Just wanted to plug that real quick. But that was one of my favorite things we've done there. I think the thesis we arrived at was Denzel might be the greatest American actor of his generation. I mean, he's just so consistently great for so long and has had so many standout performances at the right times too, to keep him relevant. And his buy-in has really never faded. His consistency has definitely not faded. If anything, I think both of those things have gone up in recent years. I think Hollywood is starting to find a place for Denzel in 2023, now that he's not the up-and-coming guy anymore. And I'm excited to see what he's going to do now. But sad to say or see that this is the final Equalizer movie. I mean, come on, Denzel. You got to give us more McCall. I mean, McCall is one of my favorite characters that he's done. I love the first one of these when we talked about it on the main feed in 2014 or whenever it was. And I was like, man, there's just something about this. I've never seen Denzel be like this before in his career. I think that might have been what sparked the idea of like, let's go back and watch and see what his career was like up until this. And it's still like one of the most interesting characters he has. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because he can annihilate 10 dudes in 8 seconds or whatever it is. But I think aside from just the hyper violence of it, it's a pretty nuanced role and he's kind of rocking it. So it's sad to see this possibly come to an end, Brian.
Yeah, I like this series. I didn't love it. I still don't love it. And I think that this...
Oh, come on.
I think this movie, some of the critiques I have of this movie individually kind of are sort of a stand-in for this series as a whole. But I love Denzel in this role. I think that he's more comfortable doing this Liam Neeson thing than he was in the first two. So I think that's something this movie gets right that the previous two kind of I'm not gonna say they missed on, but they sort of soft played it. This one he seems like he is fully in character. He fully gets this is what the guy is. He's sort of comfortable in this role, and it's fun watching him for sure. And I dig the McCall character and the kind of the combination of like the first one in particular is like a combination of like Liam Neeson and Kevin McAllister. I mean, it's just it's like
kind of
the
like
nail gun,
too.
That's
It's
like shooting
I'm gonna
dudes in the
take you.
eyes.
Your throat's gone. And that's where you come in, small fry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know you're not into it, so but I think that if this movie did not star Denzel Washington, if it starred Gerard Butler,
that's unfair.
that's my point, though.
Yeah.
I think these movies are kind of bad movies, but I think the thing that they have going for
have
them
Denzel.
is
Yeah.
Denzel Washington. And
I mean, they got Denzel, baby.
Yes,
Come on.
yes.
It's not it's not Gerard Butler.
Right,
It's
exactly.
not even Keanu. I mean, it's freaking Denzel.
Exactly. So you have this actor who's like, and by the way, when you talk about like the great American actors of this generation, especially when you're talking like mainstream actors, right? Like people that everyday Americans know. It usually is him and Hanks are kind of tied together at the hip. I really need Hanks to do one of these series too now. Like I want to see Hanks kind of Road to Perdition, but like more fun. I want to see him just ripping dudes up. I think that would be fun.
I
don't know if it would work. I just want to see it. That's all I'm saying. I want to see how
maybe in the
see if he can do
director's hands, but it can't be just fill in the blank guy does Tom Hanks movie. It's got to be like Ari Aster, somebody like it's like, oh, this is just going to be really interesting what he's able to do. Yeah, I don't see it.
I'm not saying it's
Hanks
going to go well. I just want to see it.
I don't like
wanna
the
see if
roles
he
where
can go well.
Hanks is a mean guy.
Road to Perdition, I think is up there on his like bad, and I mean part that's softened a little bit because he's a dad and all this sort of stuff. But like he's a bad person in that movie.
He's kind of mean guy in Asteroid City.
Yeah,
He's kind of mean guy in That Thing You Do, but he comes around at the end.
Right.
But at the beginning, he's kind of unlikable.
For sure. for sure. But as it relates to these movies, I think that, you know, I didn't rewatch them before this movie because we rewatched them last year. A few things always stand out with these things. This is a fun deal. I mentioned Gerard Butler because I mean to say, if these movies were The Equalizer, starring Gerard Butler, they are substantially worse, and they're just basically guilty pleasure movies. So when you take a guilty pleasure kind of movie and then you add one of the greatest actors of all time to the mix, it becomes something that should be a little more interesting than these things are. My number one takeaway, Kent, we're going to get into general thoughts on this one individually, but I think this movie has two big things going for it and one big thing not going for it, and everything else just kind of falls in between. And the two big things it has going for it are Denzel Washington, who is awesome. I think he's more comfortable in the role now than he was in the previous two. He's way more, I'm not going to say bought in, but it just, like, the delivery on some of the cheesy one-liners and even the little comedy, the little throwaway jokes that he makes feels right. It feels like he really knows who McCall is. And it
feels like
awesome.
He knows that people like this, and it's like, okay, now I can just make the move, be really relaxed in the role instead of trying to prove myself as this guy.
Right. So I think Denzel's great in this. It has that going for it. I think the setting is incredible. Italy's beautiful. Like filming in all of these little alleys and walkways and staircases and stuff is fantastic. I think that adds, I think they were smart to pull this character out of the US and put him in an unfamiliar setting. And it's really cool and really beautiful. And I love all that stuff. The issue is just Antoine Fuqua. He's not a good director. And this is the fifth collaboration that they've done together. You get why Denzel feels loyal to Fuqua, why he continues to do Fuqua movies, not just that he's going to get paid. I don't know what his salary is for Equalizer 3, but the budget was 70. I would guess he got paid 20 or 25 million for this and deserves it. You get why he continues to do Fuqua movies, because Fuqua made the movie and that he got his Oscar in, his best actor for. And Training Day is a great movie. Fuqua is just not a good director, and his style is, I think, is bad. You're much more of a camera behind the scenes person than me, so I'm really curious to get some of your thoughts on it. But I think stylistically he doesn't have a style to begin with, but it's not a good style if he does. I think a lot of his camera stuff is really cheesy and cheap. And I think sometimes the shots, like even in Italy, even in these beautiful places,
it's hard to make Italy
awful.
not look great.
Yeah. So the pacing ends up being bad too as a result of some of this stuff, I think. Yeah. And it's frustrating because I love the John Wick movies. The first Taken, I'll stand by. It's a lot of fun. I like this concept a lot, and like we've already talked ad nauseum about how great Denzel is. I really feel like, just like I said, if you put Butler into the Denzel role, then this becomes significantly worse. I think if you just put, can you imagine Coogler directing this? Holy cow! But like, if you just put like a more competent director. And I don't mean to be dogging on Fuqua. I just don't think he's very good behind the camera. And I think that these movies suffer from having a sort of a poor voice directing things and making this stuff happen. So that's kind of my general thoughts on the third. And I don't know if you have anything to add on Fuqua. Like I said, you're much more of a directorial podcaster than I am. But that was very evident in this movie. And it was extremely evident in Equalizer 2. Like the whole sequence in the hurricane towards the end is just kind of horrific, and that's, to me, is all I put on the director. But anyway, your general thoughts here.
Yeah, I think he is just stuck in what got him here.
Yeah,
the look of 2001 movies was so desaturated colors, I would say, almost like have this sepia tone to them. Right. In a lot of areas, that's just what was hot back then. Michael Bay was popping, The Matrix was popping. Like you go back and watch those movies, like, man, these are really weird colors going on. That was just had a thing. And then Training Day gets all this attention, and from then on, he's kind of relied on that style, but it just doesn't do when, I don't know, Damien Chazelle is out here blowing our minds with color. Fuqua's kind of left behind, and Marvel is very colorful, and all of these things that we're used to seeing, it just feels dated automatically. He hasn't really, to your point, maybe gotten behind digital cinema enough to really know what he should be doing in that regard, or is maybe a little scared by it and hasn't fully bought into it. I don't know, but there's something going on there with these. I definitely noticed it in this movie. There's this one shot that's like through an alleyway and it's showing the ocean. It's like, why is this gray? Why am I not seeing the bluest oceans that I want to see? You know, maybe it's just, I agree with you. These could have a lot more behind the camera than they do, but I think the action scenes are fun. I think they're well thought out. You can tell they're thought out ahead of time. Something I've really come to enjoy with these movies is, you know, the first scene is just going to be him going to town on some henchmen or some drug dealers or whatever it is. And it's always awesome. This one, when he put the gun through the guy's head and then shot through the guy's head at the other guy, I was like, I've never seen anything like this in a movie in my entire life. And then they make you wait like an hour until another moment like that. I think that's what I like now about John Wick, is that it's like, okay, we know why you're here. Yeah. We're just going to show you Wick wrecking for 2 hours, which I kind of like. These, I wish they would lean more into the wrecking, because at the end of the day, that's what you leave talking about. It's like, yeah, Denzel's great. This is a cool character study on this guy, but I don't know, 25% more, and maybe one more big sequence with Denzel would be enough for me. But it felt a little lacking in the action department. Yeah, sadly, for the final one too. It's like, let's just bring out machine guns. Like, no, we want to see well rehearsed sequences.
Right. I did think that was one pretty solid story director choice, was spending some time wherein McCall is trying to find peace and like kind of lean into, all right, maybe that part of my life is over and it's time for me to settle down and, you know, live out my retirement here in this beautiful little village, and kind of learning to see the beauty in these things. I thought that was a pretty smart choice. I thought they lingered in that stuff for maybe just a minute or two too long, to your point, because you get more and more non-action sequences. But the flip side of that is you do kind of get a sense of, and this is again something that I thought was completely lost in the second. The second one looks worse by the day to me. I feel like the first one, in hindsight, within context, you can kind of see like, okay, he's trying to stay out of it. He's trying to just be chill and all this. The second one's really where it kind of lost some of the stuff that makes these things, you know, more fun. Anyway, regardless, I think it's a smart choice to kind of let him ruminate and try to figure out how to. You can see I'm trying not to get into this fight. I'm trying to stay out of this thing, and he just can't do it. And I kind of I dig that a bunch, but I am with you that I probably could have used another action scene somewhere in there, because again, to your point, this is why I'm here. I'm here to see Denzel just wrecking shop on these dudes, and there are long stretches where that is not a thing here.
This character in this movie reminded me of something, and I want your thoughts on this. Is McCall just Batman who's not rich?
Yeah,
he's just that vigilante justice type guy. He's like, if I see crime, better not get in my way. He was wearing all black throughout this entire movie. There's certain shots of him walk through streets. I was like, man, this is really Batman-ish right now. The entire, just how it played out. And it got me thinking. I was like, man, I would really like to see a retired Batman movie with Denzel as Bruce Wayne.
Batman Beyond or something with him as Batman. Yeah, I'm totally in.
But this is very close to what you would get if you had a Denzel Batman movie.
Yeah. No, he's at this point too, they've kind of like
it's not only that he's a vigilante justice guy though. The storyline with Dakota Fanning's character that goes all the way back to the first one, It's like, no, he's like a father, trying to be a father to people that need it too.
Right.
It extends beyond just equalizing.
I will say, I kept in my brain, I kept tying and untying these movies in with Man on Fire because of him and Dakota Fanning, and being like, no, that's not. She's not actually in this series. That is Man on Fire that you're thinking.
Hey, great pairing. Just if we don't get more Equalizer, just more Dakota Fanning Denzel content. I'm in for that.
Like Chris
Dakota
Farley
Fanning,
and David Spade. What a
hadn't seen
combo.
her in a long time. She was great in this.
Yeah, that she's really good. You know who also pretty great? Roy from The Office. This is his thing, man. Like he needs
when
to
he
be,
pops up, yeah.
He needs to be in every. He needs to be a CIA, FBI, or cop in every movie. Well, he has that vibe down. Well, maybe he's like, hey man, no thanks. But I don't know. He had the right. He's the right age. He looks kind of beaten down. You know, he's got the bags under his eyes and stuff. He looks the part, and he kind of has the build and the physique.
Yeah.
He should always do this. He should let himself get typecast as CIA agent guy, because he was pretty solid in this. You know, when I looked at the
get away
cast,
from the raging alcoholic stereotype that people associate him with, I'm sure he's happy.
yeah, totally. But he was good at this. When I looked at the cast list, I was a little nervous. The Netflixization of everything, like this is seeped into my brain, where Netflix has given us so many just garbage action movies over the last few years, where the entire thing is like, well, we have 1 to 3 faces that like household names and faces that you're gonna know, and then every other actor is just some guy we got off the street, and you're always gonna be aware of that. You're always gonna be aware that we spent $50 on the 5th build actor in this movie. And when I looked at this, I was like, oh no, I'm a little nervous about that. We got Denzel, and we got Dakota Fanning, and then I'm like, the 3rd build guy is Roy from The Office. I don't know. It makes me a little
I think
nervous.
I think that works to this advantage,
Works
though,
well.
because
Yeah,
it is
100%.
it is him and Sicily,
Yeah.
and it's just like he is taken in by this family, and then he sees some henchmen doing some bad stuff, and then he calls Dakota, and that's really the only characters in the movie. It doesn't. Unlike John Wick, this doesn't have a lot of backstory. There's not a lot of world building in The Equalizer.
Yeah.
It's him and the people he interacts with or has interacted with in the previous movies that come up. And so it's very easy to follow along with. And it's not really like Liam Neeson to me, because I think Neeson literally is doing a bit. To me, I'd be surprised if Denzel did anything like this again, aside from this series. Like, if he comes back to McCall, they do another one. I would, but it's not like I don't see Denzel being like going on a Nicolas Cage role where he's just angry guy for 5 movies in a row.
I do think part of doing these movies, and part of why Fuqua is the guy for these movies, is because he's somebody that Denzel trusts, and he's also probably not somebody who's gonna like. I know that, like, we know that Denzel's not here for any foolishness. That a lot of that came out like when he did that movie with Jared Leto a couple of years ago, and he was just like, "No, I'm not doing that." I think that there's a trust for him with Fuqua of like, I'm gonna go in. I'm not gonna do a paycheck role, because I don't think Denzel's capable of doing a paycheck role. I just think he's too good at what he does. I think he appreciates his craft too much to just fully paycheck it. But he's going to come in,
so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's going to come in.
I don't think he gets offered roles. Like, I don't think he gets the Marvel,
I bet he does.
DC
I bet
offers. I bet they don't. I bet studios are just like not even going to make that call, because it's like, I don't want to insult you by offering you Transformers.
Does that make sense? There is 100% chance that Marvel and DC have tried multiple times to talk him into doing something. I feel pretty confident. I mean, there was...
Maybe.
MBJ, right, was talking about him being in the Marvel universe at some point.
I would love that. I just know Tom Hanks has said, I would love to, but no one, literally, I've never gotten a call about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I would love to do it, but no one calls me. They just don't think Tom Hanks would be great for this, right? Maybe that's the case with Denzel.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to he's too respected to get some of these calls. Like, I don't think he's about to turn into like late stage Bruce Willis, where he's just pumping out, straight to Redbox movies over and over again. And I think you're right that he's not going to do Neeson, where he just like this is his thing now, is just making revenge-based action movies and stuff, which we love, by the way.
I think he still wants to do like mid to mid-high budget action movies, and then direct his own stuff, and then maybe do a Coen Brothers movie every couple years. Like he's been doing.
I mean, I said this in our retrospective, but it bears repeating here. Like, I think a part of the Denzel story, especially especially in this decade, or excuse me, this century, is the loss of Tony Scott. Like, Tony Scott was his guy. Tony Scott is probably the guy who makes these Equalizer movies, if he's still alive, if we're being honest. And that was a director that he clearly really trusted and had a lot of chemistry with, and that, you know, I think that loss is it's a significant one for all involved. But it slightly changes the course of his career, and he might be more willing to do some basic action movies and stuff like that if he's getting to work with Tony Scott, and instead he's doing some of these movies with Antoine Fuqua, who, again, it's like, Fuqua seems like a great guy. I just don't think he's very good behind the camera. And I think you're right, maybe more than I am. I think his sensibilities kind of came to a crest in 2002, you know, and he just hasn't really evolved since then. But I do think that's part. I'm with you though. I don't think that he's gonna just do a string of these. I mean, he turns 70 next year, so that probably doesn't help in this sort of thing. And I think he's still I think Neeson knows 99 out of 100 calls are not going to be from Spielberg or Ari Aster or Greta or somebody who's making like a really good, serious movie at this point. But I think he's okay with that because he grinded for so long to become the actor that he is now and stuff like that. I think Denzel still is like, I think he could do another, you mentioned, he could do another Coen Brothers movie tomorrow and be thrilled with that, you know. He's in Gladiator 2, which I forgot. That's the only thing in his IMDb as far as upcoming right now. That'll be interesting.
Tony Scott's brother.
Yeah, pair with Ridley. I was trying to think if he's done a Ridley joint at any point in the past, but yeah, he's fascinating. And I like that this character is getting kind of a send off, and spoiler alert, he ends in a place where you can say like he kind of feels at home and peace and everything like that. But at the same time, it just kind of feels like he's really figured out how to play this character and how to do this bit and do it well. And that they have figured out too, this is something I'll give Fuqua credit for. You know, the first two movies, yes, he's destroying these dudes, but there's like a little bit more, it's a little more effort. It seems like it's a little bit harder for him, all this sort of stuff. This one, I mean, it's like right off the bat, it's like, no. Like, he's 20-1 is not enough for the 20 to have a chance against this guy, which is kind of fun. And obviously it's ridiculous and stupid and silly, but that's kind of what we're here for, I think.
He's just trying to lay low, and then some bad guys doing bad stuff, man. He's got no choice. He's got this incredible superhero-like ability to do anything you want. And if Denzel can make a cane look cool, like, I wanted to have a cane after this movie. I was like, man, I hope I have a cane when I'm older, because Denzel just rocked it in this movie. American Gangster, Ridley.
Oh yeah, there we go.
And
thank you. Yeah, that's one of his better roles.
Denzel.
That might be a Mount Rushmore. Maybe not the movie, but it's one of
the best Ridley movies of the past 20 years for sure.
yeah.
Amazing that this made so much money. This made over $30 million, which is $10 million more than the Blue Beetle made opening weekend. I wouldn't have thought that to be the case. I would thought this would have made 15 to 20 probably if I was going to predict it. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be very hard for them to not run it back on this one in a few years. It's already made its budget back. Probably impossible for this thing to lose money at this point.
Yeah.
And I see here that they have rumored to do a prequel with maybe John David Washington in that, or Michael B. Jordan.
Okay. Yeah. Could do that.
But Fuqua has said if they want to do, he's down to do another one if Denzel is.
Okay.
So who knows?
Let's.
Maybe Queen Latifah can come along. Just bring it all full circle.
Right. I think these are like, I'll see if you want to do a prequel with John David Washington. I'll see it. I'm not going to go in with a lot of anticipation because I just think that Denzel himself is he's a movie star. It's he brings a crowd still to this day. Now he may not do it for the great debaters, I don't know, but like if the combat or fences or something, but if the combination is Denzel plus an action-y kind of thing, something that is easily sold to mass audiences and stuff like that, or at least in theory can be, like, that's a ridiculously good combination. It's a smart play by the studio every time. 70 million. I wish this looked better for 70 million, if I'm being honest. Again, I'm sure Denzel got almost
he brought 25.
Yeah, probably got.
And to your point earlier on Netflix and they get 1 star or 3 stars and nobody else, they'll spend 150 million on just The Rock, Gal Gadot, and Chris Hemsworth or whoever it is on a movie, and then make the movie for 10 million,
right,
and pay everybody else 3 million combined. Yes. Like that.
Yes.
So that's probably the case here.
Yeah.
You pay Denzel 25,
right, and the script is something you got off Fiverr.
Yeah, they probably made this for $30 million at the end of the day when it came to actual principal photography.
Right.
By the way, Robert Richardson shot this. He's the guy who shoots for Tarantino and Scorsese a lot.
Man.
So maybe this was like a on film, not really on film situation. I don't know, but there's something going on there.
Yeah, there's some stuff that looks awful in this. Like
he shot Venom, the sequel.
That's closer to
Live by Night, the Ben Affleck one. I'm talking about these are the ones aside from Tarantino.
Sure. Yeah.
World War Z kind of had that look to it.
Yeah,
a bit.
I gotta say that's when you.
This guy seems to be like, all right, you're hiring me and you got to do everything.
Yeah,
it's not like you're hiring Roger Deakins. He's coming in. It's going to look great automatically.
Yeah, every movie you're naming off, I'm like, that doesn't look. It's not a good.
Well, it's a good director.
I like World War Z, but that's not a good.
But then he did
movie.
Django Unchained and Shutter Island, which look awesome. And,
maybe it's maybe this is more Scorsese and Tarantino. I don't know. That might have something to do with it. Yeah, there's some sequences, and honestly, it's pretty rare that for me that the visual side of things is either the make or break for a movie. That's not really how I see movies most of the time. I tend to, it didn't look great, but whatever. Or
there are TV shows that look better than this.
This looked terrible.
That I watch HBO.
I'm grading it down like maybe a full letter grade because of how awful it looks and some of the just weird choices made with the camera. Like even that first sequence when they walk into the house at the vineyard and you see just this carnage. The carnage looked super fake. Like it looked incredibly CGI'd. And I don't know. Like these aren't things that are to me that seem like they're that hard to pull off if you're gonna give the time and maybe the money to make a movie, and that's a thing that we've talked about a bunch on here, and it's a thing that the entire industry has to wrestle with is, hey, we're asking way too much of these VFX houses, and this is not a thing. Can we find ways to do some practical effects like we used to do, like God forbid we actually, like I listened to Greta Gerwig on Smartless this last week. It's from a couple months ago, but I just got to it, and she talked about like how excited she was to build miniatures and do some of this stuff because it's like this is like what real movie making is. I'm like, yeah, what if we did some of that? Just sometimes. What if we didn't have to make 40,000 VFX shots
that takes
for every
effort.
Single movie?
It's easier to just be like, oh, we'll do it in post.
I know.
That's why everyone does.
It's just crazy. So it's a hard thing to be like. Again, it's like I'm fine with that too, but like, can we make it look better? This should not be a movie. I guess this is my big point and why I'm going. It
should
so
be all
hard
practical
at the. Well, yeah, and it's like I think this is part of why I'm going so hard at the technical side of this. Is just this is not a movie where my brain, at least for me, this big dumb idiot that loves the Fast movies and the Battleship and stuff like that, my brain should never be like, oof, that looked terrible. Like that, man, the shot composition here is awful, and like, why is this so great? Like in a movie like this, my brain should never think those things, and it was pretty consistent, especially given, like, again, how beautiful this setting is and some of the cool. I assume this was all shot on location. If not, then they spent a lot of money on sets. But
Yeah,
it looks like it's
Naples.
all shot on location, and it looked really good on that stuff. And so when the camera then is just so ugly with some of the choices that we're making with the VFX and the shots and stuff, it's like, man, that's a bummer. That's a real bummer that we're having to deal with that. But is there a particular scene or sequence that jumps out at you as better than the rest, or I don't know, or a particular criticism you want to add here before we grade it out and move on?
Not really. I think, it doesn't have like an overarching villain per se in these, which is nice. So it's kind of the villain of the week scenario, which is why I would think you should run it back, because people just coming to see Denzel, and that's really all they care about. And I like the way they end it, because it's not like they were trying to end it.
Yeah, sure.
It's just kind of like, all right, movie's over. There's not any finality to it at all. So
Yeah, I dig
I'm
that.
excited to see where it could go.
Sure. I mean, I would have to think they'll bring this back at some point, because this is the second biggest opening Labor Day weekend ever. So behind Shang-Chi a couple of years ago. That's.
I told you I went to a 10 a.m. Saturday, and it was basically completely full. I was like, what is going on here? I was like, I'll just sneak in, see when nobody else is in there, and sneak out. And I was fighting people to get to my seat. Wow.
Yeah, I went Labor Day at 10 o'clock in the morning because that's what would fit for my schedule. And usually, even on a holiday, like a Monday at 10 o'clock, there's not anybody here. And it was a pretty full theater. So that's great. We like that. We like to see movies doing well at the theater, and I'm sure they were thrilled with this one, with that open and stuff. So yeah, I'd be thrilled to go back and see more McCall. I really would like them to figure out, maybe Fuqua can direct and you just get somebody, I don't know, that's a pretty accomplished cinematographer. I don't know. Maybe it's just not possible. Maybe it's just I'm going to have to accept I'm going here to see Denzel, and the rest of it's probably not going to be a particularly good movie. But, what are you going to do about it? I love the scene of him in the restaurant with the thugs, like when he finally is like, all right, I've had enough. I'm tapping in on this, was awesome. That was some of the best, like his delivery on some of those lines, and his like, no, I'm not warning you, I'm preparing you, is awesome. He's so quick with these 5-word sentences, and he just delivers them with.
He just doesn't know it yet. He's just like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all that stuff was great. So I did think they wrote better for him this movie than they had in the previous two. Like the little throwaways and the one-liners and the jokes and stuff work much better than they have in the previous two movies, and that is helpful as part of this whole thing. But yeah, it'd be nice if, like I said, some of the technical stuff could figure itself out. So that's all I've got. You want to grade this thing?
Yeah, this one, I don't know where I'd rank it in the trilogy. Probably the second one's my favorite.
Oh man, that's the one I don't like. Oof. I hate that hurricane sequence at the end. I think it's terrible.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's tough to make Pedro Pascal kind of boring on screen too.
Oh, I was gonna say I like it because it has Pedro Pascal. But, yeah, the first one's just so seedy, underworldy to me.
Yeah.
But the plot line with Dakota is really like makes me uncomfortable, and it's
Sure.
So maybe the second or this one would be my favorite. So yeah, I'll grade this one out at B+.
Okay. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite of the three. I think this is a one where my grade, regardless of what it is, it's like almost in spite of a lot of the stuff that's happening in the movie. But Denzel's so cool in this and so much fun. I came in between a B and a B plus, but I'm gonna go with you. You've peer pressured me into it. I'll go B plus as well. This is like one of the worst B plus movies I've seen, probably, but it's still.
These are so rewatchable.
Yeah.
These are like, man, have this on a Saturday morning while you're cleaning the house. You know, just Denzel shooting guys through other guys' heads. You know. That's the kind of weekend I want to have.
Yeah, there was right as the movie was starting. I had 2 empty seats to either side of me. And right as the movie starts, an older couple came and sat next to me on one side. And that sequence, opens at the beginning in this house, and there's just all this crazy stuff. And the older gentleman next to me goes, "Oh, so that's how it's going to be." I was like,
my screening was basically olds too, and they were loving this.
Okay.
They were laughing at the jokes.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a real time for them. I don't know what they expected. Oh, Denzel's in a new one. Let's go see that. And then, oh my God.
Yeah.
So,
Denzel's Q rating is pretty remarkable.
It's amazing to me that this still made so much money because I guess people were like us in the last 2 years and just said, you know what's awesome? Denzel and the Equalizer. Let's go. And they all just bought it. How does this make the most money of any of them? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Denzel, man, crosses all things. So on the I can't tell the story on this feed, but in the VIP feed this week which is our episode is talking about The Program. 1993 is The Program. I will tell you my audience's reaction to the Poor Things trailer that played before Equalizer 3. So that's a little tease for the VIP if you want to get over there and be part of that. Before we go, Kent, let's do a quick weekly recommend.
Do you want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere, and even earn money all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup's like, you can start creating today. Then, you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. And video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since we started using Spotify for Podcasters on Mad About Movies, it's made it super easy to get our show posted and out to all of the Man Fam. We highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started.
Weekly recommends.
All right, my man, what you got this week?
I'm going to recommend a show that's kind of similar to this in a way. Barry on HBO.
Nice.
I've gone back and watched it.
It's done, right?
Yes, it's done.
Okay.
4 seasons. And so good. Just goes to some dark places. It's also very funny. It's just really amazing to see Bill Hader go to this place. I never would have predicted it. I mean, I would have predicted he would have been a successful actor beyond SNL, but I wouldn't have predicted that he would go to this place, the self-produced, starring in his own thing, and have it be Breaking Bad-esque. I just wouldn't have thought that he could pull that off the way he has, but I mean, it's got to be one of the best things anyone's done on SNL, coming out of SNL. I'm trying to think. Farrell obviously had a run, and there's been some success stories along the way. Obviously, Sandler.
Sherry O'Terry, right.
But, I mean, the quality of this is off the charts. Like, as actual piece of art. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, it's just incredible to see our boy being so successful.
It's great.
Because I'd put, like, the SNL art is probably Barry and MacGruber. And that's the only art that I've seen come out of SNL. In Wayne's World.
Maybe it's Pat. Or the ladies' man. Yeah, I've seen the first season of Barry and then a couple episodes of season 2. And I don't have a reason why I stopped watching. I was like, this is really good. I just
started over.
I think it was probably one of those, like, I'm going to wait till this is all so I can binge this whole season, and then
that's what I did. I did, like, an afternoon, I would get through like 3 or 4 episodes because they're only 30 minutes each. So it's like it really hums along, and it doesn't drag. There's only like 2 plot lines in the entire show to follow. It doesn't have meandering B and C storylines. So yeah, just really impressive.
Yeah, sweet. I'll check that out. That's definitely. I'm finishing up a couple of background shows right now, and that might be what I watch after I catch up on a couple of these things. So it's a good recommend.
I'm interested to see what you say about Hader at the end, like towards the end, like what your impression of Hader is. Like, man, that guy, he really did that. He's
incredible, man.
He's
so
awesome.
good. He's so good. I'm gonna recommend I'm gonna recommend a podcast. So I know I found another podcast. It's crazy. Did not know that they existed. In the summer, I don't listen to any podcasts because I listen to a lot of basketball podcasts during the season, and there's some other shows that I really like that just they don't publish much content in the summer, and I kind of usually take a summer to catch up on some audiobooks and listen to music more frequently and things like that. And I don't listen to a ton of pods. But last week I was kind of in between in between books. And so I was out, I work in youth sports. I was out in my field getting soccer stuff ready, like 5 hours a day for 5 days, like in the morning in the heat and all this kind of stuff. So I queued up a whole bunch of podcasts.
Joe
to catch
Rogan.
up on.
Nice.
Yeah, just all
blaring
in on
that over
Rogan.
the
Yeah. The Alex Jones one you got to do on
speakers
YouTube.
at the gym.
Yeah, you can play it on your phone though. And
The
even if you
Bill
can't
Maher
see the
episode
video.
you just had at the church.
And then I transcribed it,
gym.
and sent it to you guys, so we could really delve into it. But
What you listening to, Coach Gill? Well, kids, sit down.
but I listened to a whole bunch of Conan O'Brien's podcasts from the last few months, and I do interview podcasts. I will typically not listen to week or whatever. It's usually just I'll binge a bunch of them all at one time. I just have to be in the right mood for that kind of show. If that, Smartless or Marin's Pod or whatever else, I'm way more likely to listen to 5 Marin episodes in a couple of days than I am to just randomly listen to one or listen week to week. But it's kind of the same with Conan. But in very close succession, I listened to the one with Steve Martin and Marty Short, the one with Mulaney, and the one with Liam Neeson, kind of back to back. And they were all just beautiful, brilliant episodes of this show. I mean, we've gone on and on about how great Martin and Marty are. They're so comfortable on Conan's show, and they clearly, I think that those two in particular probably speak to Conan's sense of humor maybe more than anybody else. I mean, he's just so delighted with everything that they say, and they're obviously hilarious. The one with Mulaney was it was incredibly funny, but it also was like a real conversation between two people, and I found it to be kind of therapeutic in a way, the way they were talking to each other. And then Liam Neeson is just such a great guest, and if you see all these crazy action movies and you've never heard him in an interview setting, you may not guess, but he is a delightful guest on these things, and he's so funny and very dry and Irish, and the combo between him and Conan was great as well, and I really enjoyed it. So check those out: the Liam Neeson, Marty Short, and Steve Martin, and the John Mulaney episodes of Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. I think you'd enjoy those, Kent. I'm sure the audience would as well. So check those out.
Yeah, the Short calling him, saying he looked like a freeze-dried Prince Harry just killed me. How he has 10 of those in his back pocket every time he goes on a show is amazing. I want to see his process where he just sits down. It's like, I got to come up with 10 Conan insults.
I gotta be honest. I don't think he plans at all. I think he is just that good and that quick. I think
he has a few
he comes up with. Oh my gosh, he's just. I think
Conan
so
sets him up for it every time.
I think that's an
totally
ongoing
true. Thing.
That's totally true. Yeah, he's incredible. Neeson was great too. Neeson talked about like when the first day of on Phantom Menace, when he and Ewan McGregor got their lightsabers, you know, and it's just a aluminum tube with a little piece of wood sticking out the top. Like, we'll put this on in post and everything. So they started doing the fight choreography, and after a minute, Lucas stopped and was like, "Hey guys, you don't have to make the sound effects. Like, we'll do that." And they're like, "Oh yeah, of course." And then both of them were like, "I didn't know I was doing a sound effect." Like, it's just this, this thing that kind of takes over, I think, when you pick up a sword or a lightsaber or whatever. But it's great. Mulaney episode was great too. Mulaney's a great interview, and he's I think he's best with Conan because he really loves and trusts Conan, and so you get really good conversations out of it. But yeah, it's good stuff, man. It's really good.
Love it.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. Hopefully Richard will be back. We'll have made it through the mud of Burning Man, and he can rejoin us next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about on the main feed next week. There's not really any movies coming out, so we may do a catch-up movie, or maybe something will surprise us on Netflix or something, or maybe we'll just do a movie news episode next week. Something like that. Got a couple cool things coming later in the month. I'm excited for The Creator. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of pumped for that. I think it'll be fun. I'm at least excited to have like some big vision of science fiction on screen. So lots of stuff coming to the main feed. On the VIP this week, I mentioned we were talking 1993's The Program with our good friend Kyle Banduho from Big Screen Sports. So if you want to be a part of that, you need to go to madaboutmoviespodcast.com/VIP. Sign up for the VIP, $5 a month, gets you access to another episode, a special review, a retrospective every single week, lots of bonus episodes, and tons of episodes in our back catalog, in addition to access to our exclusive Discord server. Back next week talking more stuff. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you at the cinema. Goodbye.
Hey baby, I hear the blues are calling, tossed salads and scrambled eggs. And maybe I seem a bit confused. Yeah, maybe, but I got you pegged. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Scrambled eggs all over my face.
They're making me the salads and scrambled